day, guys. It's been a really long minute and I really do apologize for the absence, but I am back and I cannot wait for us to start getting into the nitty-gritty of things. So yes, I've been off for a bit. I've been doing one or two things. I've been a bit busy, but I figured if I keep being busy, I'm going to stop making videos. So I have decided that no matter how busy I am, I'm going to make videos. And I'm going to start off this return from my long hiatus with this really cute baby dress that I made over the past weekend. I made it for a friend's niece and it was basically an emergency job, but truth is he wanted me to do it and I couldn't say no because it was for her birthday, so I couldn't say no. And I figured if I'm going to make this, I might as well make a video with it. So yes, I'm making a video with this and I'm going to show you the process of the pattern making, and then I'm going to have like another video to show you how I sew the dress. So yes, it's going to be a double circle dress. It's pretty much a simple dress with just flower appliques on it. So just sit back, relax, just get your pattern making tools ready and we'll get right into it. So regardless of the age of your clients, you still have to take their measurements. So whether they're 0, 1, 2, 3, you have to take the measurements of your client. And in this case, my client's age was, she's 4 years old. So the measurements I used were the shoulder width, chest circumference, waist, shoulder to half length, full length, back length, as well as her sleeve length. So starting off, I'm going to be drawing a horizontal line at the top of my paper. This is going to serve as my shoulder line. And on that line, I'm going to mark half my shoulder width measurement. And from that point, I'm going to mark down 1 inch just like I've done so. For my neck point, this is the measurement for my neck point. The calculation for my neck point is also going to be the same measurement for my neck depth point, but I'm also going to be marking 1 inch downwards so that I can give some allowance on the neck for her to, so that it doesn't choke her. Basically, I'm going to connect those 2 points, my neck point and my neck depth, with a curve. For my armhole depth, this is the formula that I'm using for my armhole depth. You will notice that it's not the same thing with the adult armhole depth, but I'm doing that so that I'll not have excess like sagging on her armhole. I'm going to then square a line on that armhole depth point and I'm going to square it all the way through. It's going to serve as my bust line. I also want to make sure that the line that goes down from my shoulder point to my bust line is straight, so I'm marking my half shoulder width again on my bust line and then I'm connecting that with a straight line. I'm also connecting my shoulder point to my neck point with a straight line. Next, I'm going to mark down my shoulder to half length, which is 12 inches, and I'm going to square line from that point towards the side seam. Next, I mark a quarter of my bust measurement on the bust line, and on the waistline I'll also mark a quarter of my waist measurement plus half an inch for ease. Then I'll connect the 2 points with a straight line. On my armhole, I'm going to be dividing the armhole depth by 3. What I have, I'm going to be marking from my bust line upwards. This is going to serve as my chest line. I do the same for my adult block too, and on the chest line I'm going to be marking half inch inwards to create my armhole curve. This is just me trying to make sure that I have a smooth curve and nothing pointy. I'm also writing my CF to indicate that this is my center front piece. And that's pretty much it for the front of my block. I'm just adding my sewing allowances, half inch all around and then 1 inch on my side seam. You notice that I did not put any dart allowances. That's because I really don't like putting darts on baby dresses. Now for the back of our block, I'm just going to continue from just a few inches after where I've cut out my front block. I'm going to still use my lines as they are, and I'm going to start off by marking my neck point, which is also the same thing as the neck point on my front, my half shoulder width, 1 inch downwards from that point, and I'm going to do the same half shoulder width on my bust line so that I can have a straight line for my armhole. I'm also connecting my shoulder point to my neck point with a straight line. Now for my back neck depth, I'm just going to be marking down 1 inch from the shoulder line, and from that point I'm going to be marking my back length, which is 11, and it just falls perfectly on my waistline that I already created from the front. For my armhole curve, I'm going to be marking half my armhole depth, and I'm going to square that line to my center back line. And then on that same line, just as I had done in front, I'm going to be marking in 0.5 inches, and I'm going to also make sure that I mark a quarter of my bust measurement, quarter of my waist measurement plus 0.5 inches for ease, and then I am going to create my curve, my armhole curve. I'm also going to be applying back shaping, and so on my neck depth I'm going to be marking about 0.25 inches, and then I'm going to be connecting that to my back line with a curve, and on my waistline I'm going to be marking about half an inch, and that half inch I'm going to be connecting with a curve also to my bust line. Now my waistline, having taken 0.5 inches from the center back, I'm going to be replacing that 0.5 inches. So instead of 1 inch for my side seam allowance, I'm going to be putting 1.5 inch and then 1 inch on my bust line. Then I'm going to, for my zip allowance, which is going to be on my center back, I am marking about 1.25 inches for my zip allowances. All other places are going to just have a 0.5 inch allowance. Now what I'm showing you right here is the fact that my ruler actually has a 0.5 inch allowance. That's why I've been using my ruler to add my sewing allowances. And that's it for my bodice block. Next is to draft out my sleeve block. Now when drafting your sleeve block, you're going to need your front bodice block, and what you need it for is you're going to take the measurement from your shoulder point to your bust point before any allowances. So just take that measurement as I'm doing, and then you just take it down, write it down, and you're going to be using that to draft out your sleeve. Now I'm folding this paper so that I can just draft out half of my sleeve, which is going to reflect on the other side of the paper. So first off, I'm going to be marking a point to be my starting point, and from that point I'm going to be marking a third of my measurement X, which is going to be my sleeve head point, and then I'm going to be marking my sleeve length point also. I'm also going to square upwards from my sleeve head point and my sleeve length point. Now my sleeve head point, I'm going to be marking half of my client's bicep measurement plus 1 inch extra for sewing allowance. And on the sleeve length, I'm going to be marking half arm circumference, which I'm going to get by basically just subtracting 1 inch from the bicep measurement. Then I'm going to add also 1 inch for sewing allowances. I'm connecting both points with a straight line, and then I'm going to also connect the bicep point and the starting point with a curve, with an S-like curve. So I'm going to add sewing allowances, and then I'm going to go ahead and just cut the sleeve block. That's it. Now before I call it a day on this video, I'm going to go ahead and cut out my client's sleeve. I'm going to be using tulle for the top part, or for part of the top part, like half of the top part of the dress is going to be tulle, and then it's going to be lined with doll face. So I'm arranging the tulle in a way that the selvage, the natural selvage that comes with the fabric, is going to be the hem of the sleeve. I like the way that the selvage looks. It's really finished well, so you can actually use it as a sleeve, and then the fabric still retains its stretchiness. Yeah, I don't know if that's the word. But anyway, so I'm just going to pin my pattern down to make sure that it stays in place as I cut, and then I'm just going to cut the tulle. I laid two layers of the tulle fabric, so I'm basically just going to cut the two sleeves at the same time. So I'm cutting that. I'm just going to cut everything out, and then I'm just going to snip at the center of my block, and that's it. I'm done.